Hello listeners, you're listening to 18 Minutes with Satyal and Silwal. I'm Satyal.
And I'm Silwal, and we are a weekly podcast from the Himalayas.
When it's a Tuesday and it's 7:30, it's time for perspectives, conversations, and stories.
We're actually recording it on a Tuesday. It's raining outside, so the wonderful backdrop of noise that you can hear is not actually noise, it's the sound of rain.
And we've been recording on Tuesdays for the last 2 weeks. What's happening?
Because life has happened. For some reason, we've taken a lot of things for granted, I guess. We've not been able to make time. Satyal almost has gone full time. I don't know if I should say this or not.
Not decided yet.
But I had two unlucky incidents. So a dog bit me. Like the funny story, behind the dog biting me was I was on my bike. It was 10:30 at night, and I was just coming towards home, and suddenly this group of dogs, like all of them were sleeping. My high beam just woke them up.
No, I think you went over and made them listen to our podcast.
Well, I don't know, but one dog was like he was I don't know if it was a he or a she, but that dog actually chased after me, and I was going at 40-45, and he still chased after me and took a bite at my thighs.
Damn,
sexy thighs.
Big hairy thighs.
You don't know that. But yeah, having said that, I've taken like 2 injections already, so 3 more injections to go. Now, this episode is all about us being waka dikka, and we don't know what to do in life once again. 65 episodes in, and we're again back to that same old spot where we have nothing to look forward to in life. So Satya, I just want to ask you, because we are essentially frustrated at everything right now. I asked this question a little while ago, and I still haven't gotten that reply. But when is that age, or when is that time when you start thinking about the groceries at home, the gases at home, the electricity bills, and all these things? When will that time come?
Do I really have to answer this?
Our listeners want to hear your wisdom.
I hope never. Because I cannot imagine myself getting to that phase in life where I will actually be able to provide for all these things for my family. So the day my father asks me to actually contribute in terms of all of that, I'm just going to say, Dad, I have a brilliant idea. Let us just rent out our home, make money from the rent, and just pay for that bill. Because the type of lifestyle that we were talking about earlier, it'll be very hard. Because you work for what? 15 hours? 17 hours a week. And with that...
How many hours do you work? I just want to know that. If I've calculated it. Have you calculated it? If you were to calculate it.
That's actually...
Are you higher or less than 50?
That's actually less, man.
So Satyal actually works less number of hours than I do. Technically speaking.
So we are not in any position to provide for our family. So does that put you under pressure now to really reconsider working more than 17 hours and say minimum of 40 hours per week, so that you can provide for your family and then be in a position where you can get married after a few years? And how does that work for you?
That sounds immensely challenging, first of all, because the lifestyle that we've started to live, it's much more easier if there was no pressure, right? But you cannot ignore the pressure that is out there. You can hide it behind a curtain, but it's still there, and you'll have to once again go towards that. So for me right now, it would make sense to just go towards that 40-hour week job, maybe get a decent desk and a table to sit down, because I still don't have a proper desk and a chair to sit down and work. Like, I'm not dishing my employers in any way, but the places that I've worked, Radio Nagarik is the only place that I get to sit in a chair for an hour, right? But other places, they don't let me sit. I have to find new places. But having said that, it would make sense for a lot of logical people to be like, you need to get a real job now. Now, I still don't know what a real job is, but maybe they're
one that makes you frustrated, and then you get so engrossed into it and you're habituated to earning a certain amount of money that you can't actually get out of it. That's a real job.
Yeah, perhaps. But
not very enticing, is it?
But then the other side of the coin, or an alternative route, would be finding a way out towards doing effective jobs for the same limited number of hours, but getting well paid for it.
Yeah.
And for that, again, in order to get that remuneration, you need to have the qualification. And that qualification would be a master's or a double master's or a PhD, right?
Yeah.
But that's, again, X number of years invested into education and then coming back. So it is a trap. Growing up is a trap.
Definitely.
It's better to be a child. But Satyal, I just want to ask you, given the scenario that we are living right now, what would be your ideal scenario for the next 1 year? I don't even want to talk about the 5-year plan, because we don't have a 5-week plan. So
Honestly, I have no idea. And with that, close the tab.
everyone's just
so
like,
many people
they have
who
no answers right now.
apparently we inspire. So sorry guys, I guess this is going to be the most relevant episode for everyone who's listening to us right now. I don't know, man, because the podcast was something, when it was fresh and new, it was exciting. I'm not saying that we've gotten bored of doing this, but at the same time, it seems like people have gotten
Bored of us.
Yes.
Perhaps.
It shows in the views and everything, because I remember there was one time when we talked about how 100 views would suffice. Now we're struggling to reach that. That was once a milestone. Now I think we'll readjust that to 50.
50 is a nice number.
So we're the last video is lingering around 75.
Yeah.
So with that goes any hopes for commercial success with the podcast. To be fair, it never was it that way. And now without the masters, the way the society is built, it's going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you do find an organization that's willing to back you up for a job, essentially you'll be very dependent on that organization, because then if one day some people piss you off and then you just want to get the hell out of it there, then you probably have to get your next master's degree, because there will not be any other organization which can hire you. Okay, that's an interesting bit though. Say you're experienced,
Yeah.
but then you don't have a master's degree.
Mhm.
Will that other organization hire you? The good thing for them obviously would be that they're hiring somebody who's experienced, but at the same time they'll be challenging their own structure, HR policy. So what do you think of that?
Didn't we have Prayash, the HR guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just give him a call and start asking him. But I was thinking of it, because it's been 2 years that you've done your bachelor's. I've just done, it's been a year for me. I'm sorry to remind you of the
Thank you.
time
I was thinking 3, but you made me feel better. It's 2.
It's
2.5.
Okay. So for me, it's a little more than a year, right? So right now, I'm looking at all these people who are just graduating, and they are
Bachelors?
they finished their bachelor's, or they're about to complete their bachelor's. So now they're in the same conundrum that we were in 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. So what would you do if you had to do it differently? Would you still take the same route, knowing that you again come back to the same question of what next? Or would you, I know what your answer will be, you would obviously, I think, do the same things that you did. But are there things that you would do differently? If someone gave you a chance to be like, look, honestly, we've tried it. We've tried the no master's plan for at least a year and a half. Maybe we've gotten some experience. Maybe our names are out there that 50 more people know it. But if there was a chance for you to go back and someone said, I'm going to give you a choice to do your master's right away, and you'll be done with it in the next 2 years, which is, if Satyal did it, he would be finishing his master's right now. We'd be celebrating his convocation.
I would keep it very low key though. Nobody would know it.
So would you take that opportunity right now? Right now, thinking of your context.
Well, I guess you've already said it. It does sound interesting in some ways, but then at the same time, I think I would have chosen a very conventional path had I done my master's right away. Because then doing master's right after graduating from your undergraduate studies in itself, I feel, is a very conventional path. Only recently have people been going out and taking those gap or filler years, which we have talked about in previous episodes. So the things that I've gained through the whole journey, let's not just say in terms of how many people know me, because that was never the idea, but creating
lot of
something
people
like
know Satyal.
creating this podcast, or starting to write for Himalayan Times, or starting the mentorship, which was not there. That probably that idea of exploring while at the same time not necessarily making a great deal of money wouldn't have been the case had you done your masters, because that would require a substantial amount of investment, especially given how we've talked about we would preferably do our masters abroad.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'd be in that right frame of mind to be exploring after that. It would be, okay, let's make some good bucks, because you've done your masters. The family pressure would be, it's time to get married, son, in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
I was just having this conversation with Amul today, the guy we talked to in the episode the 95.
Yeah.
He was saying my master's gonna finish around the Thursday time. So he's like, shit man, it's just finished now. What the pressure
next?
is what next. So it seems like these are different milestones that have been set by society, and for some reason we can't seem to escape it, because we're having this conversation right now. So I wouldn't necessarily change it, because I don't look back and think of it as wasted time.
Do you think because there's a different type of thinking of the previous generation, our fathers and our moms, and the generation right now, is success guaranteed just because you do your masters?
No, but I feel there's a difference between succeeding and not failing.
Mm-hmm.
And with a master's, you have a higher chance of not failing, and which I feel is much more important than succeeding, because only a handful of people succeed. I think that's a normal statistic. 1 out of a million people will be Shah Rukh Khan, and we look at Shah Rukh Khan's story and we want to be like Shah Rukh Khan, but then we fail to look at survivor bias. So
Exactly.
So I guess not feeling is important, and just to be on the safe side, like we were talking about this. So let's say you don't want to take up a conventional path, but then you want to do your passion projects and probably want to teach undergraduates, you'll still require a master's degree. So that will ensure that you have a certain cash flow, but at the same time you can do whatever the hell you want. So still requires a master's.
Now this episode is not about doing a master's or not. We just we're talking randomly about it. Talking about, you just touched upon something that interests me very much, where you've talked about the idea that society has about these milestones and we cannot escape it. Is there, or will there never be an escape, firstly? And secondly, this is me asking Satyal, because this is Ask Satyal, by the way. And secondly, you've talked about difference between succeeding and not failing. So is the pressure on every one of us right now who's listening to us, or the countless other people who are not listening to us, are they running around like headless chickens at times, just to not fail and just to survive?
I think so, because I can feel that whenever I'm in family gatherings. Just the other day, my cousin has arrived from America, and then they're asking, okay, this cousin, this guy has done this, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of comparisons. So whenever and then I got that sense that in 10 years time, if I don't have a new car, then the way they will look at me will change, because right now they think I have great potential. So I guess a lot of times the pressure is not just about what you want, but how other people might likely perceive you, and for you to actually cater to their needs of what you should be doing. So it's difficult for everyone to buy a BMW, but probably it's easier for majority of people to buy a Hyundai i10
or a Maruti.
Or a Maruti. So they don't produce Maruti 800
Alto.
anyway. Maruti Alto, right? So probably that. I'm not trying to take anything away from people who, buy utility vehicles, but then that probably is a better example of not failing.
But I think if you look into the world, there's a lot of people who are running around in a Maruti Alto than in a BMW.
Yeah.
Because success by default is guaranteed to only a handful of people.
Yeah.
In terms of monetary value. Now, it all now comes down to what success for you is.
Definitely.
But by positioning yourself towards reaching just a Maruti 800 goal or an Alto, are you because people talk about you having high potential and everything, have you underachieved in life? I'm going to
come back to this episode after 10 years and listen to it and say, wow man, Silwal had it figured out then. I think it depends on what success means to you.
Okay.
Success in terms of what? Status? This is an interesting topic you've brought up, but then we're probably reaching the end of the episode. I guess everyone is free to choose a metric with which they measure their life. So for some people, it's the amount of money in their bank balance. So that will define their success. For others, it's how many people know them. For others, it might be how many lives they've impacted, a few lives. And for others, it will be how many lives they've impacted and how deeply. If you are certain of a metric that holds true for you, and if you can actually be consistent with that, I don't think it matters in the long term, because you would have always known what you wanted to do. But then if you're not sure of your metric, then you'll likely compare it with somebody else's, because the other person will compare you with the metric that they've set. So if I meet you at a party, at a reunion, and if your metric is the type of car that you ride, then you'll definitely compare that with what I ride, and I probably might have a scooter.
Yeah.
But then it shouldn't matter.
I have
to
a
me.
bike. I'm winning on life right now.
So if I'm clear about the metric that I'll be using to measure success, then it shouldn't matter. So this is why we always talk about introspection and leading a life that's true to you. If you've never listened to your own heartbeat and introspected, then you're most likely to believe what other people will be saying, and advertisers cash in on that, and they say,
this is something
that's missing out on, and your life will not be complete if you don't buy that next car or next house.
Now, I think by the end of 16 minutes, I've actually come up with a topic for this episode, or a topic
thanks, man. I would have had hard time.
A topic that I would really want to, elaborate on in the future, in future podcasts. One topic that I really want to talk about is what if you never reach your potential? Because we've talked about potential and underachieving, and having a system or a metric for yourself. Because there was one quote or a meme or something that I saw on the internet, and it talked about what heaven would look like, or something about heaven. So I'm just elongating it so that I at least get to the 17th mark and then finish it off with a bang. But it said, what if heaven is not a place or anything, but heaven or hell is rather, you're about to die, and then just before you're about to die, you get to meet the person that you could have been. And that's how you die, knowing the person that you could have been. And you've missed out on that.
So this is very deep, and we'll just let the listeners contemplate on that. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. And one last thing.
It's never too late to start.